MMA Oddsbreaker. I am Frank Trigg, of course. That is Roxy Sexton on the other side. Getting ready to fight Jessica Andre in Manchester at UFC Fight Night 30. It's been a kind of a squirrely ride for the ladies. First, there was
Yeah,
no real place to go. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are in the big leagues. Just all of a sudden, overnight.
yeah, it's all happened really quickly. I don't think anyone really saw this coming. Certainly not before this year. I don't think. Well, I didn't anyway.
What has been the biggest change for you? Because the same girls you would have been fighting. Excuse me, it's the same women you would have been fighting at other organizations. It's just now all in the UFC. So has anything really changed other than maybe the pay?
Yeah, I think. Obviously, I think things like that make a difference. Because it makes a difference to be able to sort of fully commit to a fight camp, knowing that I don't have to worry about or so much about working full time at the same time and everything. So there is a difference there, and I think also the scale of it, the profile that the fights are getting, that feels a bit different as well.
Yeah.
I think the first time I fought in Canada against Alexis Davis, I think that was a bit of an eye opener when it came to the media stuff. I really wasn't quite expecting it to be as intense as it was. It was a lot of fun as it turned out. But
It was my two stints in the UFC. My first one, there was almost nothing. Like we had 8 fights a year total. There was no media covering other than maybe Loretta Hunt and Joe Gold. My second stint, I was overwhelmed by the amount of media attention that was happening. Was it really scary sometimes when you're walking in and going, "This is a full scrum. This is I have 14 different media things I've got to do. There's extra things that happen on top of all my training and trying to get my rest and my eat." Did it kind of all overwhelm you so much to the point where it actually affected how you fought?
I don't think it affected how I fought, but it did. Certainly a few weeks out from the fight when started getting all the interviews coming in. And I think I did something like I think it was 20 or maybe 25
Wow.
Video and telephone interviews that final week before I flew out, and then obviously there's all the media when I was out there as well. So yeah, it definitely it sort of it hit me and this is for real. I think you get used to it quite quickly. To start with, certainly when I started out in mixed martial arts, I found dealing with the media stuff really difficult. I'm naturally quite.
You're quite shy. You're quite quiet, actually.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I remember your first couple of interviews. There's a lot of and like you were kind of shy and didn't want to do anything. But you've grown not only as a fighter, but you've grown as an interviewee. Like you've now are much better with that. Is it just timing, or did you have to go take classes or something?
To be honest, it's just been practice. I think it's just getting thrown in the deep end and sink or swim.
Yeah, the problem is that the deep end here has sharks in it too. So you're trying to swim with sharks. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Is it? Are you still living in Manchester right now?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're not going far for your competition.
No, it's. It really is literally my hometown. I think I'm the most local fighter on the card, which is that's going to be quite an experience. But it's actually the first time I've fought in my hometown. So I've never fought in Manchester before. So to do it on a UFC card is quite something.
So your family's coming. I'm assuming everyone you grew up with is all going to come in too, and
I've got a lot of friends and teammates who are going to be there. My parents don't come to my fights. I think they'd be nervous. To be honest, I think them being there would make me nervous as well. So I think they prefer to watch it on TV or on video afterwards. Which I think we're both probably more comfortable with. But yeah, a lot of my I've got a lot of friends who are going to be there, and I should have a lot of support. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is there going to be a lot of hooligans in the crowd cheering you on? Because it seems like every time there's a fight in England, no matter who the UK fighter is, they're backing them 100% the entire time.
Well, it's a good atmosphere. I think the fans here get behind their fighters. Yeah, I think there's quite a few UK fighters on the card as well, so I think it's going to be a really good atmosphere. It's there's a few of the other lads who I know reasonably well. I'm looking forward to seeing them fight as well.
Well, let's talk about Alex Davis. That was your last fight. You lost her unanimous decision. What do you think went wrong in that fight that you could have done that now, in hindsight, you could fix to go back and if these guys fought the same fight again, that you would win it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always the way you come away from every fight and you go, I should have done this, I should have done that, and at the time, I think it was. There were certainly things which I could have done differently. I think the third round in particular. I think if I'd made a few different choices there, I think that round could have gone differently, and that might have swung the fight in my favour. Overall, I think it was a good scrap. I think it was a decent performance. I'm not. Obviously there's mistakes there. There's things that could have been better, and there's things that I've looked to improve on in the gym since then. But like I say, overall, I'm not too unhappy with the account I gave of myself. I think what I proved there is that I can hang with some of the top girls in this division, because there are a lot of people going into that fight who are saying, oh yeah, it's just too small for the weight class, and shouldn't be fighting at 135. And it's true. I am small at that weight class, but I think what I proved there is I could still hang with some of the top 135 pounders. And I think there's definitely some good fights in that division for me. So I'm excited to see how it's going to go this time out.
Do you think the UFC is going to open up more women's weight classes?
I think eventually that's going to happen. I think sooner or later, there's a lot of talent in the lower weight classes. 115, I think in particular, is looking particularly strong at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's good fighters at 125, 105. So I think there's a lot of talent there. It's a question of when it's going to happen, because I think at the moment they're trying to consolidate the division they've got, and I can understand that. They want to build that division. They want the public to start to recognise those fighters and to get behind it. So that's where they're putting their focus at the moment, which makes a certain amount of sense from their point of view. So it's just a question of when it's going to come along.
Are you following Tough 18? Are you watching the Tough show now?
I haven't watched all of it. I've watched most of the fights. I've watched bits and pieces.
It seems like to me a lot of the women on there are really 25 pounders fighting at 35 because they're on the show, and it makes sense because you have to make weight so often. You're not going to fight at your normal weight class. You're going to fight up one so you can make weight all the time. I think it was Kenny Florian. I think he was on the show 185 and went all the way down to 205, or went all the way down to 155. So it was like he wasn't in his weight class. It seems like to me that a lot of the girls that are on that are fighting should be in a lower weight class. It's almost like they're setting it up so they can start another weight class after the show is over, because a lot of people are going to jockey out. But you're saying you don't think that's going to happen. You think they're probably going to keep everybody at 35.
I think it will happen. It's just a question of when it's going to happen. I think, and I don't know. I don't have any inside information on that at all. I mean, from my point of view, I think it would work out really well if it happened sooner rather than later. But I think either way, there's definitely some good fights in that weight class for me.
Okay, let's break down your opponent. Let's talk to us about Jessica. She's 9-3. Obviously, you have the experience component at 13-3. But talk to us a little bit. How do you see her when you watch tapes?
Yeah, I mean, she's young. She's aggressive. She's hungry. She's a solid grappler. I think her background. She looks more of a judo player than a jiu-jitsu fighter at the moment. I mean, obviously she's got some jiu-jitsu there as well, and some powerful judo throws. Like I say, overall, I think in some ways we're quite similar fighters. We've got a similar build. We both like to play top game. I think the biggest difference here is that age and that experience gap. She's 21. I've been training in martial arts since before she was born. So,
That's. I thought a lady never reveals her age, but it is true. It is true. It is true.
I think it's all out there. It's like weight in the sport. We talk about everything.
Yeah, pretty much. So what do you think? Is she gonna be more dangerous? Do you think from her throws trying to get you to the ground on your feet, or do you think she'll be more dangerous on the ground and if so on the ground, top or bottom?
I think she's more dangerous from on top. When she's on top, I think her top game looks like the strongest aspect of her game. She's got some powerful strikes as well. I think I certainly don't want to be on the end of too much of that. But I think overall, I've got a little bit more everywhere. That's the way I see it. I think I've got that experience edge. I mean, it's not just the number of fights. I've been in the sport a long time, and it's been sort of that accumulative training over a period of years. You know, that I've sort of that experience of, you know, training with so many different people and working with so many different people over that period of time. So I think that's really going to pay off. You know, like I say, I think, you know, at this level there are no easy fights. Everyone's dangerous. I think she's certainly got some tools there that could give me problems if I let her. But I think we've got that taken care of.
Good. Right. Well, Russ, thanks for taking some time. I know it was tough for you. You had blood work you had to get done today, and you had to get through traffic and all that. I appreciate you getting in and getting on here with us.